Hi, Nancy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good, good.
Thank you for the time today.
No, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, okay, Fear. This was a really enjoyable movie. I was just rewatching it again. Um, can you start off by just talking a little bit about the movie?
Sure. So, obviously fear is something that I'm very, very proud of. Um, uh, it's more than just a movie that, obviously we produced or directed and written and all that good stuff. It's more than that to me. The movie was made at a time where I didn't know if tomorrow was going to come. And it's interesting that way. We were at the height of the pandemic when I made this movie, and that cast came down, and we all bubbled in a lodge and lived together for 2.5, 3 weeks.
Mhm.
And this is before people were arguing over should they wear a mask or not, right?
Right.
This is when we didn't know. This is when we were like, oh, is it on the doorknob? You know what I mean? Or you have to wipe it with a Clorox. What? Like this is before the toilet paper was not in the stores, right?
Mhm.
So it came at a time where I was living in fear about what was going on in the world, and as a dad, I was like, man, well, how do you protect your kids from this thing in the air? And then right after that, a young man was killed named Ahmaud Arbery.
Mhm.
And that was the first time the world watched something socially during this moment in time where we like, and you were almost like you were rattled in a cage. And it was unrest. And what we would not know is that a few, month or two after that would be George Floyd. You know what I mean? But it was during that time where I was like, I just was in fear, man. And I had just started talking about what does fear do to you? It's crippling. And I had an idea, and as an artist, I hadn't done nothing for a while. We were locked in. I was upset, and I was like, "Man, I'm gonna go make something." And I
Mhm.
remember everybody was like, "Man, you done lost your mind, man. You make something." I said, "I'm gonna go make a movie." They're like, "Boy, you should get out of here." And just like that, man, it's been who I am forever, which is, I'm a person that just does it. I don't think sometimes when I jump, and sometimes that's a gift and a curse. But sometimes you have to be a little crazy to make things happen. That's how my career has happened. I've just been just enough crazy to believe that I could make movies and direct films, and when everybody else told me I could not.
Mhm.
And this was no different. I called people up on the phone, found a location. Myself and Roxanne, my producing partner, she believed in me. At first she was like, "You crazy?" Then she was like, "Damn, that's actually a good idea. Maybe we could do it." She crazy too. So it was two crazy people calling a bunch of people, and we found ourselves at this lodge. And I had an idea. I had kind of wrote a script, but it was just a framework of what the script could be because I had no production time. There was no cast. It was just kind of all an idea. And next thing I know, I was making this movie, man. And we looked up shortly after that and realized it was the first movie being shot during the global pandemic.
Wow.
And how incredible was that? A Black independent production company breaking all the rules and doing something that cool.
Mhm.
So that movie represents it's more than just a film. It was a time in my life that I actually accomplished something when I was the most in fear.
Right, right. Nice, nice. And that's one thing that I noted about you is that I thought a lot of your movies were studio backed. Fatal, I've seen Intruder, which I thought was a great movie also. And then I found out I'm like, wait, you do all of this independently? Like,
Yeah.
so how has that been? Especially getting this stuff out there and then having to do all of the promotion and all of the you know getting it into audiences pretty much yourself and then like with help and finding that help. How has that been?
Yeah, it has been like I said before, you have to be um a little bit crazy, and you have to be full of faith. Um, I've been doing this for 16 years, and when I first started, everything that could go happen, everything that could go wrong went wrong, and because I've been through that, what I like, that school of hard knocks
Mhm,
for years, you just become accustomed to dealing with it. It's number one, it's hard to make a movie no matter who you are, you
mhm,
know. Number two, it's hard to make a movie if you have no experience at making movies. You have no film school, no formal education, no one in your world has ever made a movie. That makes it double hard. And
mhm,
then to be black
mhm,
in this space just adds a whole nother element to this whole thing. So we've experienced it all. We went through a lot, and we've fought tooth and nail to be where we are today. And yeah, it's amazing, man. We put so much pride in our work, our cinematography, our writing, how we approach movies, how we market them. Because once, we had to once everyone said no, we had to tell ourselves yes. And we said we have to be 5 times better than everyone else, even though we don't have the budgets. We have to make sure they understand. So it's a compliment to me when you say, "Oh, I thought Fatal in the movies were some studio movies." Yes, we love to hearing that. Yes, it's our studio. We are the studio. We backed it. You know what I
yes,
mean? And
mhm,
so I love that, man, because yeah, those are hard movies to make. Intruder made for $3 million. It grossed $60 million in the box office. Fatal opened right before the pandemic. It opened number 2 in the world. Like, these are great stats, to
mhm.
have when you're, independent filmmaker and a black independent filmmaker. So I love it. But yeah, it has been a very challenging road. But nothing, nothing, nothing that is worth. If it was easy, everyone would do it.
Mhm.
Right? If it wasn't art is hard. Art is hard. There's been no easy oh, I became a journalist and it was easy. Like, or
Yeah.
I scoped and it's easy. Like, it's like, no, art is hard, man. Like, to be able to express yourself creatively in a medium, it always becomes, it's challenging, to say the least. So if you could find success in anything that you do creative, you have been blessed beyond measure.
Nice, nice. And so back to fear. One thing that kind of got me about this movie is I think that it seemed like for some people they missed the message because it was labeled as a pandemic movie. And
Yeah.
I wanted to know if you could talk a bit more just about that fear and the message there of people learning to kind of regulate themselves so that the things that try to create fear in us aren't able to take away our power and take away our sense of self-preservation.
Yeah, it's so crazy, man. So yeah, the movie is interesting because I've been finding that a lot of people have discovered it and like, oh my God, I love it. Then I'm hearing a lot of people like, oh, I didn't like it. And I've asked a few people like, I want to know why, what didn't you like? Because it's such a cool movie to me, right? I'm
Mhm.
like, well, what didn't you like about it? And I learned that they thought it was something else. So they went in thinking, oh, it's going to be this. And then they found out, oh, no, it's that. And one lady was just like, look, I loved it. But she was like, I actually thought it was going to be a direct horror film. I didn't know it was going to have an ending like that. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And I said, I'm happy you discovered it. And I did it that way for a reason. Um, I wanted to make the movie be a reverse of what you thought it was going to be. And,
Mhm.
and my point to that is it was deliberate in the approach based on the fact that I am probably the biggest horror fan. I make horror movies. You know what I mean? I made The Intruder. I blew Dennis Quaid away with a shotgun in the last frame of the film. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I've Chain Letter. Like, I know these movies like the back of my hand, but this was different. because what I was aiming for, like a Black and Blue, like a Fatale, like a Traffic, like some of these movies that I love messaging, is that sometimes when you get into these horror movies, you walk out with the fear.
Mhm.
You walk out. That is the normal commercial. Yes, make them be scared. Have them come back for part two. You know what I mean? When they get home, don't look under the couch. It's under there. And I said, man, what if you could take a horror film and you flip it to where we actually give them the antidote, and we actually tell them the absolute polar opposite of what fear is: faith. And I wanted to do that, and it was a fun to do. And I just, like I said, I've told people, I said, man, look, if you watch it and you get it, it's for you,
Mhm.
and you will understand what that movie means. If you watch it and you're like, I don't get it, then it is absolutely not for you. And I'm happy with that, because the people that are receiving it is everyone I want to receive it.
Nice, nice. Yes, and I really enjoyed it. It was like just the way it was shot and the messaging behind it. And so when I saw some of the, negative reviews, I was like, did we see the same movie? I feel like we didn't. Um, so can you talk a bit more about how you go about finding people for these movies, like your casting process, your crew process, all of those things, and the time that it takes to go into that, especially since you have to put so much of this together on your own.
Yeah, look, I think after a certain amount of years, I'm gonna turn this on so you can see me.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you see me?
Yes, yes.
I think I think after a certain amount of years, we're so used to doing everything,
Mhm.
to where we just now cast the movies too. we cast the movies now too. We just call people like, hey man, I got your phone. I just cast now. So I'm constantly growing evergreen of actors and
Mhm.
people that I want to work with, and meeting others, and others introduce me to people, and I kind of keep this little world around me. And normally when I'm writing something or creating something, I end up being like, oh, I'm gonna call him. You know what I mean? Or I'm gonna call
Right.
her. And that one girl was, man, she was tight that one time. Remember, and I'm that guy. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's interesting that way, because we don't have the power of a studio,
Mhm.
and we don't have the budgets, and we don't have the agency. So it really is a organic, from the mud. I'm reaching out to you. I got this thing. Man, it would be great if you could come and participate with me. And that has been the same exact thing I've done for Dennis Quaid, Hilary Swank, Naomi Harris, who you name it, Michael
Mike
E.
Epps.
Mike Epps. It has been the same vehicle that I have used in every film. I don't believe I've ever had a moment where the casting director called me and said, hey, I just talked to X. They can't wait to be down there and work. Like, we've never had that. It's always been like a world of me trying to really fight and go do it. One film that we had, that did happen for me, which was phenomenal. The most prolific, incredible casting director of all time, Mary Vanu. She casted my movie Supremacy early on, which had Danny Glover, Joe Anderson, Don Olivier, Mahershala Ali, Derek Luke. That's the first time I said, wow, this is how this works. You know what I mean? Like, someone picks up the phone that people listens to, that people love, and she says, I like this and you should be in it. And then they go, what? Outside of that, it's been me being that person. I'm the casting director. Like, I like it, you should do it. You know, it's just like, that's
Nice.
the world we've had to build.
Nice, nice. Okay, and with fear, what is one of the primary messages that you want people to get from this movie? Because for me, um, when I watched it, I was like, wow, like I really feel like this speaks to the kind of things of not so much the bigger fears that we have, but the things that really stop us and the things that are of no consequence that we end up taking into ourselves. And especially like he doesn't propose to her. I was like waiting for that moment. So can you talk a bit more about that and that kind of message that you want people to really get?
Yeah, the message is, if you outside of the film, the universal message that has been put into the movie is, if you allow fear to consume you, it will kill you. And it can kill you physically or metaphysically. That's what the movie is about in a nutshell. It can kill you metaphysically or physically if you allow it to consume you. So we live with all these small, minute fears every day of our lives. And so many of them could become one wave that stops you from doing whatever it is. And when I say that, I mean, when I say like, oh man, I've been on this job for 15 years and I hate it and I hate the people there and I'm depressed. But if I leave, I don't know how I'm gonna pay my rent. That's fear.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm in this relationship and me and her don't get along anymore and I really don't like her anymore, but oh man, we got to stay for the kid. That's fear.
Mhm.
So these are things that stop us and hinder us. Oh, I don't want to tell that person how I feel because they work at this company and then they're not gonna like me anymore. What, man, get out of here. You're mean to me. I'm gonna tell you, you're mean to me. I don't like it. That's
Mhm.
fear. You know what I mean? So what I wanted to point out was, it's bigger than just a spider or a dog, or I'm afraid of water or drowning. All those fears are very real and people have them, but I wanted to do a mixture of the physical things that we deal with, like a drowning, and you know what I mean, but I also wanted to mix that stuff in with Ti. His fear is people not believing him,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
His fear was not to be believed. And that goes over when you talk about them people you just said, did they see the same movie? They're not there. They're not there physically and mentally. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Joe was commitment. How many people, we started the movie with the fear? You know what I mean? Where he's like, he can't do it. And I just said, man, like, I believe these things are interesting and dynamic, and was really fun to explore in a time where we were also all fearful. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So we were all on this movie overcoming our greatest fear, which was to be together.
Mhm.
To just stand in the same room with somebody was fearful 2 years ago.
Mhm.
To have someone cough and everybody goes, like, I was there. Like, we remember it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I mean, it's now it has become, oh man, I didn't believe it. You took the shot. And now it's all of this stuff. But there was a moment, Nancy, where we didn't know what tomorrow was gonna be.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? There was
Yeah.
no antidote. There was nothing on its way. I remember watching CNN and waiting every day for Trump to say something positive. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
This is what I just said. I was watching Trump, waiting for Trump. I was waiting for Trump to come and say anything like, do they got something for us? Like, you just was like, you were in this world, man. So I wanted to go recreate that. And I wanted to just simply say, a seed of faith will allow you to overcome any fear you might have.
Mhm.
That's what the movie's about. And I love the end where she has to give birth to a new belief,
Mhm.
a new world, and a new her. And
Mhm.
I love that it's a Black woman that was all purposely done. Like, I just believe the movie has so many things inside there that people have to go watch it, and you got to pull them out. Like, you got to know, I know what I'm doing first, and then you got to be like, okay, let me see what he did here. And you could just see all kind of things in that movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you just dismiss it, you know, like, it's interesting you said that, because when we first put the film out, there were some of the biggest critics in the world that said, oh my God, I really love this. And then there was a whole bunch of critics that are not big at all that was like, this is terrible. And I'm going, wow, like, just to see the argument of why it's good versus why it's not just lets me know that I made something that I love even more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's what it is.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. And I mean, for me, the movie speaks to me. I mean, I moved out here to Los Angeles this month.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, that's a big thing, a big fear. I mean, I was like, how am I going to
Graduated.
do this? All of that.
Yep.
Thank you. And so, watching this movie, I went back and rewatching it, and I'm like, yeah, I think this really speaks. And I love the way that it's formed. It's the visuals, it's very good. And I love the representation of the bruja as this kind of black goo
Yes.
type of thing, because that's kind of how that feels and how that gets to people. So
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, thank you for that. Where'd you move from?
Maryland.
Wow, congrats. You
Yeah.
finna kill it out there, man.
Thank
Listen,
you.
I don't know you, but I'm proud of you. And
Thank you.
that's a massive step. And you know it's gonna be you know it's gonna get hard, and you know it's gonna be difficult, but you just took a giant step for what the future is gonna look like for you later.
Mhm.
You're gonna
Yeah.
do wonderful.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Yes. All right, so keep in touch with me, all right?
I will. I will.